Hey everyone. I love to see all you early birds here. Thanks for hopping on early. You guys are awesome. I am on early just to make sure everything's working. So if you can hear me or can't hear me or you're having issues, I would actually really love if you could let me know. And you could just pop that into the chat. Let me know. Yay, thank you. You can hear me. Yay. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Love it. Love, love. Well, since you guys are all here early, I'm going to start right on time in about 3 minutes. But where are you from? Tell me where you're from. And Maryland, Savannah, Georgia. What's STL? What am I missing there? We have Florida, NYC, awesome, San Jose, Santa Fe, Pittsburgh, Toledo, Mexico. Oh my gosh, you guys, you're all over. Arkansas, Virginia. Oh, St. Louis, STL, thank you. Oh, that's funny. Perfect. Apparently I was the only one that didn't know what that was. San Diego. I love San Diego. I used to live in Temecula, so not too far. Very random location, but we loved visiting San Diego often. Asheville. I have been to Asheville. It's very beautiful. Kansas City, Chicago. Oh, yes, wine country, Temecula. It's a great place to be. Awesome. Orlando, Denton. Oh my gosh, guys, you are rocking the webinar today of places you're from. So thank you so much for being here. Colorado, Kansas City, Iowa, yay! Which I am from Idaho and everyone gets Iowa and Idaho mixed up. I don't know why. Oh, hey, Sun Valley, yay! Thanks for joining me. I am in Meridian, so we are just a few hours away. Very cool. Canada, awesome. Very, very, very cool. Well, it looks like I still have a few folks hopping on, which is awesome. And so I'm just going to keep just waiting out a minute and to get started. I'm going to go ahead and actually switch over to my slides for today. Let's see. So you get to see my little transitions here. So fun for you early people. Awesome. I am going to keep my notes up as much as possible. It looks like, okay. Guys, it looks like my chat, I can't see it when I'm sharing my screen here. Trying to figure out where you guys can be. So if you do have questions, I am able to see the Q&A, so you can leave me a question in the actual Q&A function. But I will take a few breaks and go back to the chat so that we can have a better communication here as far as just answering questions and doing some brainstorming. Today is all about being interactive and sharing ideas. And so I am super excited to have you all here because doing sponsorship sales is actually one of my favorite things to teach. I've been teaching for a long time. And so I really love this transition into the virtual event space and how we can really attract and retain and increase our sponsorships via the virtual event opportunities. And so that is what today is all about. I want to talk about why now is really the best time to be approaching sponsors for your virtual events. And I really want you guys to feel as prepared as possible when you're going into having these conversations. The virtual event space is still so new, and it's kind of hard to go and sell something that's new, and you're like, I don't really know how this is all going to work out. So I really want to give you guys that insight of how that works and how you can approach sponsors so that you really know like what you're offering them and what they're interested in, because we've been seeing a lot of success in this arena. So anyway, without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. And first, I know a lot of you have been maybe watching some of the webinars I've been on lately with One Cause and Winspire, and I know that I've met a lot of you through those webinars. And so today is really all about event sponsorship, and so I'm just really thankful that you guys all chose to show up today. So thank you so much. And so if you don't know me, my name is Danielle Snelson, and I am in Meridian, Idaho. And I've been planning events for over a decade. I started in Southern California in Temecula, and started my own business here almost 11 years ago, where I plan live corporate and nonprofit events. And I just started my journey as an event planner. And along the way, I really started to see a huge difference between my corporate clients and my nonprofit clients when it came to raising money. My corporate clients were like making 30 to 50% revenue margins with their events, and they weren't even fundraising. And so I was like, how are they able to make so much money off of an event that has nothing to do with fundraising, but they're so profitable? And my nonprofit clients were really just kind of struggling to get any sort of traction in the sponsorship world. So what happened is I really started to kind of discover these systems and processes along the way, and then started teaching them to my clients, and they started to see a lot of success with this. And then just a few years ago, I decided, why not? I'll sell sponsorships for a client of mine. And so I've been selling sponsorships myself. So now I get to teach all of this content, everything that I've been teaching for over a decade, as well as my own personal experience in how to sell event sponsorships. So before we start, today's webinar is really going to be heavy teaching. So I would love for you to just turn off the distractions. I know that right now in this crazy world, we have our phone and our computer and everything that's probably constantly dinging at us, but just take a next hour or 45 minutes to an hour, and just let this time be for learning and asking questions and engaging with other fundraisers. So if you've got any of those extra tabs, just give them a quick close. All right. Like I said, today is going to be a lot of information about event sponsorship. So if you happen to have a pen and notebook, or you want to take notes on your laptop, that is awesome. I am going to try and answer as many questions along the way as I can, but if you can just maybe jot down your questions till the end, I am going to answer every single question. So I'm going to stay on as long as that requires. I have blocked out the rest of my afternoon for you guys. So if you have questions, please stay on, and I will be answering everybody's questions at the end of the presentation. And I will try to, if it's a relevant question as we move along, I will try to do my best to take notice and answer those questions. But if I don't, just please know that I will answer them all at the end. So awesome. Okay, so I'm going to pop back over into the chat, but I would love for you to tell me, what is your biggest sponsorship frustration? And you can pop those into the chat. Let's see. I did the transition. Yay. Okay. I appreciate your patience with me as I'm kind of navigating through just Zoom and going back and forth. So making connections, okay, reaching the right person, yes. Getting people to commit, phew, yes. Okay, right now, sponsors that need to focus on their business and pulling pledges, yes. That is happening right now, for sure. That is a real thing. I feel like I'm competing against larger organizations, not knowing when to submit. Got it. Standing out from other events. Yep, we're going to talk about that today. Responding too late. Finding out who to talk to. Yes, finding the right people. It's really challenging. And I'm going to be talking about that today too. You guys are like spot on. We're going to be helping a lot of you today. Okay, not knowing what companies are doing well enough right now to make a donation. Okay. Not having enough relationships. Yep. Relationship building. Deciding what are good benefits for each sponsor. Yes. Trying to please everyone. Yes. Awesome. Getting a timely response, not getting a commitment or hearing back. Knowing where to start. Yes. Securing large corporate sponsors, competing events. Yep. Doing events online. Very cool. Yes. Not worrying about competition with other orgs. Yes. That is real. Definitely real. Retention, coming up with new benefits for different levels. Very cool, guys. Thank you so much for popping that into the chat. Now, before I move on, I do have another question that I want you guys to let's have a quick conversation about. Now, hopefully I don't turn you off. Here we go. Okay. So tell me next how much you would like to be raising at your next fundraising event. Now, there is no wrong answer. There is no wrong answer on this question, but I'd love to know where you all stand and where you're at. 25K, yes. 50K, 150K, 60K, 30K, 100K, 250, yes. I love all these answers because it tells me exactly what our goals are. 400K, 40,000K, 75,000, yep. And the point of me asking this question is really just to, there is no wrong answer. And with the right strategies, we can be raising the amounts that are meaningful to us. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about what meaningful sponsorship sales look like. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. 40,000 is meaningful to some organizations and 300,000 is meaningful to others. And so it doesn't mean that others, you know, some are right or wrong or better than others, but these are our numbers to shoot for. And these are our goals that are going to help us progress over time and have sustainable fundraising events. So maybe you're at the 30,000 mark right now, but it's not unreasonable to think that in the next 5 to 10 years, you can be at the 100,000 mark. And so sponsorships is really the way to start looking at this differently so you can really start making a sustainable program over time. Very cool. Looks like you guys you have a lot of different ranges. Yes, 200,000. 1 million. I love it. I actually just had this conversation with a client. That is our goal, 1 million for a virtual fundraising event, and sponsorships are a huge part of that. Yep, there is going to be a recording of this webinar. I am going to be sending that out as soon as I can after this. All right, guys, I'm going to go back to my screen. Okay, I'm back. All right. Thanks, guys. I know this is a little silly. I wish I could see the chat. If, I don't know, maybe there's a way to do that. Anyway. All right. Does this sound like you? You aren't seeing repeat or meaningful sponsorships from event partners right now, or maybe you haven't even tried. So does that sound like you can raise your hand? I do see the raise hand. Awesome. Yes, a lot of you are raising your hand. Oh, hey guys, guess what? I found my chat. Yay, so I can see the chat now. I don't have to bounce back and forth. So very cool. Thanks, guys. I think Angie, thank you for letting me know. All right. So when I'm talking about meaningful sponsorships, that was the number that I asked you to tell me what you were interested in raising. So if you're not seeing those numbers, like, is that you? So let me know. Just raise your hand. All right. You love the idea of generating consistent event income, but selling event sponsorship seems complicated, overwhelming, and sometimes even icky. Is that you? Some of you feel kind of icky about selling sponsorships because you just feel like you're constantly asking for money. My raised hand is going nuts. So I know a lot of you feel like that. Awesome. How many of you are worried sponsorship sales are not for you? You hate being salesy. You don't want to feel like you're always asking for money. Yes, that is a lot of us. So today I'm actually going to be talking about how to make this feel more comfortable in your sales process so that you don't always feel like you're like, ugh, I'm just always asking for money. All right. How many of you wish you could just simplify the sponsorship process and start having successful event partner relationships? right? That's the goal for all of us. Yep, just keep raising your hands. Awesome. Very cool. Okay, so today, here's what we're going to learn, okay? We're going to talk about what sponsors really want out of event sponsorships and the secret to them returning year after year. That is such a great goal, right? So let's talk about how we're going to do that. Step one, we have to identify. So one, what do sponsors really want? And this goes along with finding the right people. A lot of you said that that was a struggle, is to find the right people. Okay, we want to discover what we have to offer. Okay, we're going to talk about the value proposition to be giving to sponsors. And one of those really important pieces is you already have all of these things accessible to you. And so we're going to rethink about how to utilize all of those things that we have already. And then step three, we're going to ditch the Shark Tank style pitches. All right. How many of you feel like you got to have this huge pitch, this huge offer, and you have to go in and you have to be like, I don't even know if they want it. And then you're like freaked out that you have to go in and like present to like a committee or a board of people to give an answer. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to not do that and have that overwhelming like frustration about having that Shark Tank style pitch. Okay, so before we dive in, I want to share my story with you quickly. Okay, so because I want you to know that how I got here. All right, and everything that I'm sharing with you is everything that I have done and help clients with. So 10 years ago, I started my event planning business where I planned corporate and nonprofit events. And along that way, I really discovered where I wanted to know why my corporate clients were doing so well and raising so much money in their events, and they weren't even fundraising, right? And so then I had my nonprofit clients that were like just struggling to get $1,000 in an event sponsorship, and they were trying to raise so much money so that they could do all of the, mission pieces for their cause and organization, and they were just struggling. And so one of the things that I started to discover was why my corporate clients were doing so well, right? And so I started to present my findings, and I call them the corporate revenue generating strategies, right? And so I started presenting these strategies to my nonprofit clients, and then they started to see so much growth in their sponsorship sales. And so this disconnect between what the corporations were doing and what the nonprofits were doing started to come into alignment. And so it was amazing to see how all these organizations were actually starting to thrive and create sustainable fundraising programs year after year, all because of their sponsorship sales focus, right? So once I kind of figured this out, started to see results in my clients, I started teaching all of these different techniques and strategies and just into different settings, and my clients have been having such huge success with this that about 2 years ago, a client of mine asked, they said, hey, do you think you could sell sponsorships for us? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never done that before. Like, that's kind of crazy. But sure, I guess I've been teaching this for a long time and it works for other people. So I guess I could do it, right? And so I started doing it about 2 years ago. And the same strategies that I had been teaching to other organizations, I was able to raise $73,000 in sponsorship in less than 6 months, actually. And I didn't know a single person, and none of them were in my local community. So I had to do all of this over Zoom or phone calls, and I had to find all of these people online. And so I know this is so relatable to what so many of you are going through right now, that we have to find sponsors and we don't know who they are. We have to do it over Zoom. We haven't met them in person. Like, how do we go about this whole thing of finding people virtually, right? And so my experience was all about finding sponsors virtually, building relationships with them, and then selling them on high value event sponsorships. So what I discovered over 10 years ago, and the strategies that I've been teaching, worked for me too. And I know I kind of sound a little surprised about that, but it totally did. And so I was super excited to learn that it worked for me. And so now I get to share not only my strategies I've discovered, but I get to share my actual experience as well. Okay, so when I started selling sponsorships, I felt like I had this whole like playbook of how to do it, right? But I kept feeling like I was constantly hitting dead ends. Like it was overwhelming. I felt like it was not going to happen, right? And I was struggling because I was trying to find ways to communicate with sponsors so I could actually talk to them. I know so many of you probably have the same experience where you send an email or you have called a few times to schedule that meeting and you just never hear from anyone. And so this was really frustrating to me. I was having the same experience. And so that was a struggle for me. And then on top of that, I was feeling really frustrated and overwhelmed with this huge goal I had over my head. I had never done this before. I have, my client expecting me to produce, high results. And then I was like, it was like, like so much pressure, I guess, And so I was feeling all of these things as I was going through the process myself and feeling, just kind of feeling helpless for a little while. But then I started to realize, like, just putting in some of the work and just kind of getting people's perspective, like, okay, now people aren't responding to me, so why? Like, right. So I had to figure out like how, like what I was doing to cause some of these responses, right? But what I started to realize was like, it wasn't about sending out all my information to as many people as possible. It was about finding the right alignment with corporate sponsors before getting into any sort of details. And so one of the things that I really started to like focus in on is, instead of sending out like a whole packet about my events and what the packages were and when it is and like who's there and like support us and here's about our mission, like I had to start sending out alignment emails to really activate a response. And so what I was discovering is like those big long emails full of all the information, they would never respond to them. They were like, oh my gosh, like I don't need another sponsorship packet, And so what I started like this little like example here in this computer screen is like, hey, like my name's Danielle. I have this event coming up and like I think we share similar demographics and I would love to chat with you about what your goals are. And so those types of like really small kind of quick emails actually got a response back. Like people would be like, oh yeah, actually, like who's your demographic? Like what kind of event are you having? And so then they started prompting me with all these questions. And so I would just answer those questions. And then I'm like, hey, like let's hop on a call, right? So, but before I even get into like the what next, is when I really started to see how these like activation emails, these alignment emails, short, sweet, and simple, started to work. It made me feel more confident. And I started to be able to open up with these people on the other side of the computer and start to have like real and meaningful conversations with my potential sponsors. And so that allowed me the opportunity to start learning what was important to them. So it was like that little tweak from sending out blasting everyone I could with all the information I had to finding small alignment emails that was able to activate a conversation. And so that was something that that worked for me. Now I just started laughing because I forgot I had this picture of me. It's kind of silly, so sorry. All right, but so over the last decade, my clients have grown their sponsorship revenue and created sustainable fundraising events, all through going through these processes. And like I said earlier, and I personally sold $73,000 in event sponsorship in 6 months, and I didn't know a single person and had to do it over Zoom and phone calls. So everything we're going to be talking about today is based on all of these different things. Okay, but I want to talk about Ben. So Ben was having a fitness event, and he was really excited to be hosting this event in his community to get people interested in fitness and check out different options and do some workouts and things like that. And we sat down and had a conversation, and he was telling me that he felt like a couple hundred people wasn't enough to really land big sponsors. And so as I sat down and talked to him about the strategic approach to sponsorships, Ben then took that information, and a week later, he was able to go out and secure a $10,000 sponsorship with just having the right strategy. Okay, so Ben also went through all of these different strategies that I'm teaching, and that the same strategies that I've gone through, and he was able to transition his mindset from 200 isn't enough to getting a sponsor on board to sponsor at $10,000, and he was able to have a killer event. It was everything he wanted to be able to do in his event because he had the funds to do it, and he also was able to create the impact that he was excited to create in his community through fitness. When you start selling sponsorships correctly, you're going to start to see a lot of different benefits, not only financially, but in different areas of your organizations. You're going to be able to start increasing your reach, which is super important in the virtual event space to increase your reach. We keep talking about how we can grow our audiences exponentially in the virtual space, but we have to have the right partnerships and the right strategies in order to do that. Selling high-value sponsorships help us foster influential relationships with our corporations, whether they're locally or across the nation. It's going to help you grow your event audience, which is also in association with your reach. When we start having live events again, and you might consider having maybe both a live and virtual event, sponsors are going to help you grow your event audience. So think of that in a live event term, but increasing your reach is more in the virtual event term. Okay, this helps you build community again, which is highly advantageous in a virtual event setting. And then one of the most important reasons that when you do sponsorships right, it helps create sustainability in your event. I love when events are paid for before the event comes around. So a lot of times people are struggling to even pay the catering bill by the time the event rolls around because they have to hopefully raise enough money through fundraising at the event. I love having a different approach to that where sponsorships help pay your event expenses. So when you move into your event, everything's 100% paid for, and all of those all the fundraising efforts you do through auctions or raffles or anything like that, or a paddle raise, are all going towards your cause. Okay, so I just gave you a lot of information. So where do we start? How does this whole process start? Hopefully you're feeling a little bit like, oh, there's like a lot of stuff going on. Like there's a lot to do. So I want to really break this down, make this digestible so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming and that you have like the tools to be able to just apply and move forward with some of your event sponsorships. Okay, step one, we're going to figure out what sponsors want. Important piece, probably the most important piece, right? So this statement right here, if you happen to have a pen, write it down. Okay, sponsors want an opportunity to position themselves in front of the right demographic while also supporting a cause that is in alignment with their mission. Okay, not your mission, their mission. And so this is really an important key to understand as you approach sponsors, is that we want to create alignment with what we do and what they do. Okay, so these are things that are going to help separate who we go after, why we go after them, and how we're going to approach them. Okay, so your sponsors partner with you because you can give them something that they want. Okay, this isn't a thing. This is a lot of times nonprofits think about this in an opposite term, that sponsors give the nonprofits what they want, right? And so we have to really start thinking about how do we take our organization, all the accessibility that we have to our demographic, and position it into something that the sponsor actually wants from us. Okay, so some of the things that you can be thinking about when it comes to this is marketing to a niche group of people. The people who follow you, support you, and volunteer, contribute, give. Anybody who is one of your followers, somebody who loves what you do, is a very niche group of people. And a lot of times sponsors, they love niche marketing. They want to be in front of that group of people for certain reasons. Okay. They also want the opportunity to build relationships with those people, whether it's digitally, whether it's in person, or some other avenue. So a virtual event is a great place to continue to build relationships with your demographic. Okay, and then if we have a live situation, this can provide an opportunity for employee engagement. Is when the company and the nonprofit are in alignment, they love to be able to provide those opportunities of giving and serving with your organization. So you can help them achieve what they want, okay, by building them into your event marketing plan. This is a huge piece that a lot of times gets missed. we are naturally going to be marketing for our events, and we want to include our sponsors in that, which means we have to be starting our sponsorship sales way in advance so that 2 months prior to our event, when we start to market and do ticket sales and get people up to speed on what we're doing, we can include our sponsors in that package. And so one of the ways to do that is to really think about, like, how many emails are you going to be sending out? Is there an invitation that goes out? What sort of digital marketing are you going to be doing? Is there going to be social media marketing efforts? And we want to figure out all of those different approaches so that we can build that into our sponsorship package and provide that to our sponsors so that they can have the opportunity to be in front of your demographic as much as possible. Okay, so one of the other things too is really creating a plan for them before, during, and after your event. Don't forget about the thank yous. Don't forget about how you can connect them with your audience after your event. And this includes virtual. This is really all encompassing of a live event and a virtual event. We want to create custom engagement opportunities. So sometimes, like, lots of organizations have different types of access to different things. So maybe you have a really great relationship with a radio host. Think about that as an opportunity to plug your sponsor in and bring and interview them and let them talk about the event and why they're sponsoring. Maybe you have a podcast that you do or different webinars that you do. Email, if you've heard me in other webinars, you know that I love email. And I think that email is such an underutilized asset in the nonprofit world. And this is a really great way to connect your sponsors with your audience via email for your virtual events. Okay. And then of course you have social media where you can give different plugs and different representation for them then there too. And then in addition to that, we want to create custom activations specifically created for them. And I'm going to talk about how you get to what that looks like when we get into our later steps. Okay, so the biggest problem that I've been running into is that most nonprofits lose sight of what the sponsors really want, and they miss out on providing value to them. And so this is a really big aha moment for a lot of nonprofits to say, what is the value that we offer to a sponsor? Because the conversation internally for a long time has been, well, we need sponsors because we need their money to support our cause or to put on the event or something. And so the value has been placed in a different way where it's more of, we need value from the sponsor to support us rather than let's figure out a way that we can provide value to sponsors and then they're receiving something of value from us in return for their dollars. Okay, so one of the biggest ways that we can stop doing this is to stop asking for sponsorship in the form of a donation. Sponsorships are not donations. We're not asking for a donation from a corporation. Okay, something you might hear or something that's kind of common in the nonprofit event world is, hey, if you sponsor our event, I'll put an ad in our program for you for recognition and so that you can be listed as a supporter. Don't be doing that. That is not what we're looking for. And that is just asking for a donation from a corporation. Okay, so we're not asking for corporate donations. We are creating offers of value that support their needs before yours. So you're providing them marketing value, which they would have spent their marketing dollars, whether it's with you or a radio station or TV ads or social media marketing. They're going to be spending this money anyway, right? So we want to provide value to them instead of asking for donations, okay? And so I want you to keep asking for donations, not for donations, oh my gosh, ding. Keep asking for sponsorships. The more you ask, the more you go out there and do this, the more comfortable it becomes to get used to offering value instead of asking for donations. If you were one of those people that raised your hand earlier when I said, does it feel icky to always ask for money? It's probably because you're asking for a donation and you're not going out and looking and offering value. So just this different mindset shift is going to be really helpful for you as you approach a high, working with sponsors and a high value package. Okay, step number 2. I know I am moving so fast through this, but I really want to keep us under, a little bit of under an hour. But I promise I will get to all your questions at the end of this presentation, so I will stay on. I just don't want to, teach your head off today. Okay, so step 2, discover. Discover what you have to offer. So these are going to be all the things that you already have access to, okay? So I want you to discover who your demographics are. I'm always surprised at how many nonprofits don't actually know exactly, specifically to the detail who their demographic is, okay? So I want you to find your audience. Who are they beyond your event, okay? Because we're going to offer high value to our sponsors, which includes not just the people who are attending our events virtually or live, but it's going to be who's on our email list, who's clicking our website links, who's doing all of these things out in the virtual world. And I want to know who they are. Why are they interested in us, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can find out this information. Social media is a really great starting point. If you're like, I don't know, is it 50% women, 50% men that follow us? I don't know. Social media is a really great place to start and to start digesting all of this information and utilize it, bring it together, keep track of it. And you'll start to learn more about who those people are, okay? I want you to find out where they live, what they like to do, how much do they make? Now, these seem very personal questions. And I've had a lot of people say, well, how do you find that information? Send out a survey, MailChimp. Is it MailChimp? No, Survey Monkey. They're like animals, right? Yeah, so Survey Monkey, it's free. You can send it out to everyone you have an email address for. Just ask them these questions. And you'll be very surprised at how many people will respond and let you know where they live, what they do, and how much they make. Okay, so I really want you to just spend time and really, really, really get to know who they are, because it's going to help you start making better choices and decisions when it comes to your event planning, as well as selling high value event sponsors. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to identify all the ways your organization has communication to your entire network. Okay. Again, I want to think beyond just our event attendees, even in the virtual space. I want you to think past the 500 people that might show up live to your virtual event, or the 1,000 people that might show up live to your regular event. Okay. I want you to start thinking about website traffic and clicks, social media. How many followers do you have? How can you get more followers? Traditional media, okay? Maybe you have really great relationships with your local news, radio. You know what I really love is billboards. Billboards are like my favorite form of traditional media. So don't let that go out the door. As far as like, if you have a local event, even if it's virtual and you're promoting it to your local community, use a billboard. I love them. Blogs, podcasts, webinars, emails. I love email. Okay. How many email subscribers do you have? What's your open rate? What's your click rate? Okay. I want to know who these people are and what reach you have to them. Okay. All right. So then we have our actual event. Okay. So now we're identifying who our demographic is and who those people look like. Okay. But now we want to start diving into what are our activation opportunities? How can I physically get those people in front of my demographic at the event? Okay. So our packages are actually going to be a combination of all of these different things. So okay, I'm going to look to the chat right now because I want us to do a little brainstorming. So I want us to think about our live events, which we're not having right now, but I want you to start to, in the chat, tell me what some of your live event activations are. And I want to just talk about like some brainstorming, some ways of converting what you do live into the virtual setting to help you start thinking about what sponsors, like how to shift that conversation with sponsors, right? How can we add value to a sponsor without the table for 10? Okay. I love this actually, because I'm working with a client right now who is a food bank, and we're like, oh, we sell all of our events. Our event people come because we sell tables, right? And so we're actually talking about having an actual food event, same ticket price. They buy a table of 10, and we're actually having chefs. It's a chef curated type event, and they cook, each course. And we're, for the same ticket price, they're going to swing by and pick up their meal and their pairings of wine, and they're going to take it home. And so that way we're still having like tables of 10, and the corporation still is sponsoring that table of 10, but we're just doing it in a different way. So that's one way of looking at it. Okay, I'm going to go scroll through these. You guys blasted me here real fast. So a photo booth. One of the things we're going to talk about too is, instead of a photo booth sponsor, maybe have a hashtag sponsor. Right? So one of the things that I love about the hashtag sponsor is, for every hashtag that your event generates, there's a sponsor maybe donating $5 a hashtag, right? But this way, it's sort of similar to the photo booth concept where you're getting a picture taken, but instead we're just hashtagging it and we're having a collection of pictures and images in our virtual world. Okay, auctions. Yes, silent auction sponsor. We can still do that. Our technology right now with One Cause and Greater Giving, all of those virtual platforms are so great because not only can I portray and showcase my sponsors, I can get really specific with sponsor activations within that app. And so every time I can even set like a occurrence, how often I want people to see a certain sponsor. And so your higher paying sponsor is going to get more visibility versus your lower paying sponsor. So that is a really great way to have silent auction sponsors or live auction sponsors or a paddle race sponsor. All of those different sections of your auction can be done virtually and digitally within your online software. And so you can showcase your different sponsors throughout each of those different sections. Wine tasting, yes. So we have a virtual wine tasting for our upcoming events where we have local wineries sponsor different courses. And so we're going to be working with our wineries to be able to deliver. Now, I don't think we're going to do 5 courses with 5 bottles of wine. For all of our attendees for paid ticket customers, but we could probably do a bottle of wine. And so we can get all of this different wine donated. And then during the virtual event, we're going to have our wineries share all of their tasting notes to go with the meal that they picked up. And so we can still have a virtual wine tasting and a sponsor can sponsor the virtual wine tasting. So I'm hoping that all of these different ideas is just showing you that what you were doing is really, you can translate it in almost any way into the virtual space. Let's see, mobile bidding, online auction, silent auction. Okay, we talked about that as far as integrating sponsorships into each of those different things. If you don't have auction items, I highly recommend going a consignment route like with Winspire. They offer really great consignment packages, but then you can have a sponsor sponsor them. And so they're now kind of like associated with this package. And so if you're like, how do I get, like if the person's not like giving me something for free, like as you're procuring items, then that's another route that you can go. The person doesn't actually have to donate that item, but they can be represented with being that auction sponsor. Dancing with a live band, yeah, you could have an entertainment sponsor. So I have been seeing bands play for different gala events. Now there is some music licensing situations with that, but there is ways around that. I've also seen like dance parties with a DJ online, so that's kind of a fun way. Let's see. Yep, commercials in between slides. I love that. Yep. The paddle race. Yep, we could have a paddle race sponsor. And like I said, like we put on a virtual event on how to have a virtual event. And one of the things we demoed was the paddle race, and we had a scoreboard behind us so everyone at home could see what we were raising. And we can definitely put a sponsored logo there and give them recognition verbally as well as visually in the paddle race. So these are all such great ideas. So good job, guys. So I love all of this. I would love to keep this conversation going. So if you're not already, I'm just going to throw this out there. If you're not already in my Facebook group, go ahead and find nonprofit fundraising events and join that, and let's keep that conversation going about all these different ideas of how to convert our live event sponsorships into virtual sponsorships. So this is just a little quick, like some ideas that I had is, sponsored email content instead of ad space. If you generally have some kind of ad space at your live event, convert it into a digital email form. So here, at a past event, we had a sponsor present some different content and information. We had a little banner for them, and they were offered a nice discount of some kind because they were reading that email. Technology sponsor, so that covers everything from live, silent, your paddle raise, all of that. Creating videos, commercials for your sponsor, stage sponsor. This is actually our live like virtual studio. And so it's really easy to put up a logo there. Do an interview with your sponsors and do that online, do that virtually. You have your auction sponsor. And over here, I did use a picture from a past live event, but just like we were talking about earlier, a hashtag sponsor. We do that in our live format events. So why not do it in your virtual events, right? Such a great opportunity to do all of those different things. Okay, so we're going to get into ditch your Shark Tank style pitches, right? So one of my first approaches when I'm working with a new sponsor and I feel like it's kind of like a cold lead is my goal is to not sell them anything. It is just to get a response and then a meeting. And you'll notice I'm not selling for a while. Okay. So one of the things is I want to, we just talked about earlier is keeping your communication short and sweet. Okay. Don't send your entire sponsorship deck to them before having a conversation. I know that sounds kind of like counterintuitive because I know that probably a lot of you are out there sending your stuff out just to as many people as possible. Don't do that. Okay. Don't send your stuff. I don't want them looking at it. What's happening when you do that is you're giving them a reason to say no before they talk to you. And so we want to focus on getting a response first. That's it. That's all you're doing is getting a response. Obviously, meetings can be held over the phone or in person or Zoom, right? I did all of my sponsorship sales via Zoom and was able to be successful in that. So I know that it will work for you. Okay. And so good news. I hope this gives you a lot of relief and hope. You don't have to sell in your first meeting. That is not your goal. Okay. This is what gives people so much anxiety is to feel like they have to pick up the phone, talk to someone they don't know, and sell them. And that is not the way to do it. Okay. And I'm telling you that that is okay. You don't have to sell right away. And I want you to focus on getting a response first. Okay. So what happens when you finally get that response? You are going to set that meeting with them. Okay. And then when you're in that meeting, this meeting is you're not selling. You haven't sold yet. We're not there yet. Okay. We're going to ask them a lot of questions. Okay. Things like, tell me about a successful time you sponsored an event. And they're going to give you their feedback. Okay. What do you like most about sponsoring events? Okay. What happened in the past that you didn't like when you sponsored an event? This is a really great question because they will tell you. What does your perfect sponsorship look like? And probably the most important question of all is what are your top 3 goals in sponsoring an event? Okay. Have I sold them yet? Nope. I'm not there yet. I am learning, and I'm asking them a lot of questions. Thank you, Marjorie, for putting my link to the Facebook group there. I would just love to keep this conversation going. So thank you so much. And sorry, I flipped through too fast on my mouse. Okay. When you ask questions, your only goal here, and this is what you're doing in your meeting, is to learn more about them. They're going to tell you during this meeting if they're interested or not. This is when you're going to find out if that company has the funds or not. This is where you're going to find out possibly what range they're going to be sponsoring in based on what they tell you about what is important to them and what their goals are and what their reach that they're trying to get from you is. Okay. So then what happens next is you're going to create a custom sponsorship package for each sponsor. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't have your sponsorship deck of just kind of like outlining your basic opportunities. That's useful. And I definitely highly recommend that you have one because it helps you create your custom packages and it helps you identify all the different reach that you have. You're going to create something that shows your demographic and you're going to create something that shows all of the different opportunities you have for sponsors. That's going to be very helpful to you as you create a custom package. But one of the things, the most important thing that you're going to do is then from that conversation is say, I love all these ideas and I know that our organization can help you meet your goals. I'd like to draft up a custom proposal for you and your team to review. So what are you going to do? Okay, you're going to build this package on what they told you they wanted to do. Okay, so now there's no more guessing about what they might buy or what their budget is or if they're even interested. This whole conversation is all about them and you creating a package that meets their needs and goals. Okay, so basically by doing this, you're creating the perfect scenario for them to say yes. Because everything you created is them telling you what they wanted, okay? And then the next step you're going to follow into is consistently follow up until you receive a yes or no. Okay, don't send it and then be like, oh, I never heard from them, and I guess that means no. I want you to follow up with them until they tell you physically yes or no, okay? I will give you a quick example. When I was in this process with a potential sponsor who turned into a sponsor, it took me 3 months of follow-up to get them to say yes. And in my mind, I was like, these guys, I haven't heard from them. They haven't talked to me. They haven't responded to me. It's probably a no, but whatever. I'm going to keep following up with them. And 3 months. And they go, one day, okay, we're ready. And that's all it took, 3 months. Okay, so just to recap, I gave you guys a lot of information today, and I'm so glad that you guys stuck with me here. But what we learned today was we learned event sponsorship not only increases your revenue, it also grows your audience and helps you build important relationships with companies. That's huge. That's amazing, right? We also learned how to create custom sponsorship opportunities based on what is important to your potential sponsor to give them what they want. Okay, we reframed our mindset that we're not looking for someone to satisfy what our goals are and what our needs are, but we're looking to satisfy their goals and needs. Okay, you learned how to create winning sponsorship packages and how to optimize what you already have to give sponsors what they want. I really love this quote here. Everything you need, you already have. Okay, so there's no need right now. You have everything you need in order to go sell high value sponsorships. Now, does that mean you're not going to continue to grow and build? No, but you have the starting point of what it takes to start looking for sponsors and add value to them. Okay. So you're here today because you want to increase your event revenue to build a sustainable event fundraising program. You want a simple solution to selling event sponsorships that works. I've proved it works. I've done it myself. My clients have done it. So much success here. You're here because you're also tired of not making the kind of money that is meaningful from your events, and you're ready to make that change, especially with our virtual event situation going on firsthand, okay? And so I just want you to know, now is your time. It's your time to start to experience abundant event fundraising. Now is better time than ever to experience abundant event fundraising with your virtual events. It's time to stop asking for donations for good and provide high-value event sponsorships. Totally. I think you're all with me now, right? We're all in it for the high-value event sponsorships, not asking for donations. It's your time to really start to build a sustainable event fundraising program with the guidance of a step-by-step system. Okay. Now remember, everything that I've taught you here today is not out of theory or I think it works or it's guesses or oh, I hope it works for you. All of these things myself and my clients have done to achieve successful event sponsorships. I didn't have any kind of special advantages or special skills when I started selling event sponsorship. I was just as nervous as y'all are out there, and I had been teaching this for a long time. So in theory, it should have been easy, but when I started selling, I was just where you guys are, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But now, thanks to decades of experience, I have a system that works, and I know that if I can do it, that you can do it too, okay? And so I'm so excited to introduce to you my event sponsorship fundraising course called the Profitable Nonprofit Events. Now, this course is a step-by-step program that fast-tracks your fundraising and impact with event sponsorships. Super great value, okay? Now, I want to meet Kelly. Kelly had a long-standing event in our community and it was experiencing a plateau in attendance, sponsorship, and revenue. They were like, where's everyone going? We're just seeing decline on every level, right? But with a fresh approach to creating new sponsor activations and engagement, he was able to not only make the event better for attendees as the overall experience, but he's able to triple his sponsorship impact. It's amazing what sponsorships are going to do for your event. In this program, you're going to get 5+ modules of me teaching my philosophy, my step, the way that I went through everything. You're going to get fillable sponsorship templates. Everything that I've used in my sponsorship sales, I've converted into all usable templates for you. You don't have to recreate any of this stuff, okay? Have checklists and timelines of how to approach sponsors, when to follow up, how to track that. I even have email scripts for you to do some outreach to potential sponsors. I also have a private Facebook group where as you go through these processes and you're struggling, or you're like, I've been working on this potential sponsor and I need some help, ping me in our private Facebook group and I'm there to help you. And the group is there to help you. And this is different. This is just for students only. So it's a very private group. And I'll be giving feedback on your sponsorship decks, talk about ideas. Anytime you need something, throw it into that group. We're there to help you, okay? And then there's also actionable items to increase your sponsorship sales. So lots of value here. So during our time together in this course, you're going to learn how to optimize your marketing impact. You're going to create high value sponsorship packages that convert. You're also going to outline an action plan to generate more revenue with all of the tools within the course. And then you're going to finally have the confidence to make sponsorships work for your events, because I know that it can. And then you're going to leave with all the training and the skills needed to continually grow your event fundraising and sponsors for years to come. I've seen this firsthand over the last decade, and it is amazing where clients have ended up just by making the shift in their event sponsorship sales, okay? In Module 1, we're going to talk about our sponsorship mindset and sponsorship foundations, how to start creating this. One of my favorite tools in this piece is how to talk to your staff, volunteer, or board about how to get them on board with this new direction and philosophy. So it's a really useful tool. And then Module 2, we're going to be talking about our sponsorship development plan. So how to connect your mission with their mission. We're going to be talking about how to get into how much to get in sponsorships and goal setting. I have a whole template for you to plan your virtual and your live events. It's a nice plug and play budget and everything to kind of keep track of your P&L, which is really, really useful. So you know exactly how much to raise in sponsorship dollars. We're going to be talking about how to create your sponsorship deck correctly and how to find the right sponsors, how to contact sponsors so that they respond. And also, a really important one is how to attract sponsors without asking them. I have had this happen to me a lot. And so I just had the right tools in place to start attracting sponsors without me having to go hunt them down. Okay, and then we're going to be talking about how to sell high-value sponsorships and really overcoming either that fear or that hesitation that you might have around selling. And then we're going to also be doing some action planning. I have 90-day action planning tools so that you can really start your process from day one and really see your change and progress over time. And then on today's call, if you book today, I'm actually going to do 2 fast action bonuses. I didn't even have time to create a slide for it, but the fast action bonus for today, if you book while we're on this webinar, is I'm going to be hosting a virtual event planning workshop. So I want to walk through the actual planning steps of hosting a virtual event with you step by step so that you know exactly what it takes to host a virtual event. This is going to be more of a small group sessions. I'm going to hold multiple sessions so that we can keep them small and we can go through specifically your own events. Now, the second workshop, if this isn't something that you're super interested in, I'm not kidding. I had 20 emails today about doing a workshop on digital marketing. I've told you a million times that I love email and why email is so much more valuable than social media. And so I'm actually going to do a digital marketing workshop. So I'm going to offer these 2 workshops just for those today who buy today. This is a $249 value just to join any of my virtual workshops. And so I'm offering this free if you buy today with getting the profitable nonprofit event today. Okay, so enroll now and get those fast action bonuses. I'm going to send out those different links to join those workshops, but you will be included in your choice of a virtual event fundraising or event planning workshop, or doing the digital marketing course where we talk about a strategic email and digital marketing plan. And that's going to really help jumpstart your whether you're hosting a virtual event or not, it's really going to help impact your overall marketing for your organization. Oh, I see. This was my last one. Actually, it's instant access. So no, the class does not begin November 4th. So thank you for noticing that. I did not obviously notice that. You have instant access to the course when you enroll today. The course is fully built out, ready for you to dive in today. So enroll today if you're ready to increase your fundraising impact with event sponsors. If you are ready to do that, then the Profitable Nonprofit event is for you. So what's the investment, right? We all want to know, how much does this thing cost? Well, if you were to hire me to actually sell sponsorship for you, my fees run $15,000 plus commission. So that is a lot of money when I'm teaching you how to do all of this yourself, right? Hiring me to coach you would be $495 an hour. And if you were to take my half-day class, my half-day seminar class, it's $2,500 to attend that seminar. But today, the total value of the Profitable Nonprofit event is over $10,000 worth of templates and training, an amazing community and resources. This course is well worth over $10,000. But if you enroll today, you can just enroll for $109 today with 4 additional monthly payments of $109. If you choose to pay in full, you're going to save $200 and making the course $497. The course normally is priced at $697, but today you're going to save $200 when you join me in this special webinar offer today, and you're also going to get the fast action bonus of your choice of workshop. Okay, so when you purchase today, you're going to save $200 off the regular price. You're going to receive immediate access to the course, to the entire course, as soon as you register, okay? Super awesome. You visit profitablenonprofitevent.com. I'm also going to be sending out a link in the chat, so you can access that link right now and get all the information you need, as well as checking out there. So what's going to happen? You're going to go to that link. You're going to see this page here, and you're going to have the option of buying in full or doing 5 payments of $109. And you can click the buy now for whichever option works best for you, and super easy, secure payment where you can use a credit or debit card to complete your checkout. Now, the final step is, once you've completed those steps, you're going to log into your community full of friendly new peers and people who are going through the same thing with you and getting virtual sponsorships. So I don't want you to miss out on your opportunities to start today for just $109 and 4 additional easy payments, or you can pay in full and save $200. Now, I know you might have some questions like, I don't even know where to start. Okay, well, Erica felt the same way when she joined. She says, with Danielle's guidance, I have a better understanding of how to communicate with my potential sponsors. I have confidence in my event packet and presentation and clarity of what the expectations are for a corporate sponsor. I'm so grateful for the wisdom she has shared and feel like I took a huge leap forward. I've been following Erica along in her journey, and she has been kicking butt. She has been doing such an amazing job, and I am so proud of her for everything she's applied into her own organization. Now, you might be thinking, I've been doing it wrong for so long. Will it work for me? And Bruce felt the same way. He says, Danielle's very first lesson made me realize that I've been doing sponsorships all wrong for 17 years. I'd been looking at them as corporate donations. No wonder I haven't received more. I had not sold the benefits to the sponsoring companies. I have to change course from that mindset and bring our board and staff along with me if we're going to make sponsorships a major part of our giving. All right. So now we're going to hear from some more real students. I hate reading these things but they're so nice. Carmen says that the course is dynamic, interactive, and she got a lot of great takeaways. Danielle was great. Her presentation was engaging, very knowledgeable without discounting our experience. Now, these are some really great testimonials. So I know that if you are interested in this course, you're going to be feeling very similarly. Now, just a reminder, this is a special launch offer. The price goes up on Monday at midnight. So if you are interested in this course, now is the best time to be getting this deal. So instead of $697, it's going to be $497 for the instant access to the course. Now, like I said, if you are wanting to take advantage of the fast action bonus, the fast action bonus ends at the completion of this webinar. Now, I do have time. I'm going to go through I am going to go through all your questions now, but so I want to keep the availability of this as long as possible. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about event fundraising, getting sponsors for your virtual event, anything you might have in association to the course. Happy to answer those. Let's see. Okay. I think this is, yes, Jillian. She says, we host 2 large fundraisers per year and 2 to 4 smaller events. Do we reach out for sponsors per event or try to get them to sign on for a full year? Right now we do it by event, and I fear I'm getting annoying and pushing sponsors away. You know, I deal with this often with a lot of our clients because they do have a lot of different types of events. Now, some events are going to be more fitting towards sponsors than others. I actually like having a combination of both. So when you actually go into that meeting with your sponsors and asking them a lot of questions, that's something you might want to start thinking about asking and portraying to them instead of just assuming that they are getting annoyed. Maybe say or ask them like, you know, we have this full calendar of events, and we would love if you wanted to sponsor one or all or two or whatever, something that they might be interested in. But yes, when you're meeting with those people, give them those options, because if they tell you they want to do multiple events, then you know that they're going to sponsor multiple events, and that package looks much different than if they're like, oh, we're really only interested in this one gala because of XYZ. Well, now you know that you're not going to go back to them and ask them to sponsor again. And so it's really important to have those conversations that kind of get to know you and find out what's important to them, because that's when you can offer them the multiple opportunities to sponsor multiple events. So that is a really great question, and that's kind of how I would approach that. Okay, so Therese asks, how do you secure sponsors amidst the pandemic and marketing budget cutoffs? Great question, and I know probably a lot of people have that question on their mind, but one of the things that I've been really encouraging people to do is to have these relationship building conversations. I don't want to assume when I go to a sponsor that they're struggling. I don't know if they are or not, right? Until I actually have this conversation about how you can help them, right? How can I help you with my virtual event? Here's what we're planning. Like, is there, you know, we want to like help promote you, or we want to help provide marketing value to you. This is an uncomfortable conversation if you're asking for a donation. But if you are going and approaching sponsors from this perspective that you want to help them and provide value, which is what you're doing, then they're going to approach it in a much different perspective through marketing dollars versus donation dollars. And so right now with the situation with the pandemic, keep having conversations with people. Keep getting people connecting over Zoom and just having relationship building conversations and get to know them over virtual coffee and really find out how you can help them. They're going to tell you exactly what that looks like by having that conversation with them. And so of course, if they tell you, you know, the company is doing a lot of cutbacks and blah, 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 like make note of that. But then follow up with them in a month or two and see how they're doing and really continue to build that relationship, because there's going to be companies that bounce back no problem and they're going to be ready to contribute. And there's going to be some that aren't. And so it's just really important to kind of keep your thumb on all of those things, but truly, honestly, authentically have those conversations with those sponsors. So great question. Okay, let's see. Is this course guaranteed for success? Is there a money back guarantee? Right now, there is no refunds on the course. But Angie, if for some reason you're struggling or something isn't going right for you, you can always reach out to me. We can always work something out. So I'm happy to make it work for you guys. Okay, Terry asks, for a for-profit, I have over 25 sponsors that have made big investments earlier in the year. Now that we are virtual, how can we ensure the best ROI in today's world? The cost to deliver meals instead of table for 10 has to be huge. Yes, so there's a different couple of ways we're talking about doing this. First of all, I'll answer the sponsorship question. On the sponsorship side of things, when you convert from a live event to a virtual event, your sponsorship opportunities are not worth less. They are actually worth more. Now, if you've already secured them and now you're shifting, I wouldn't necessarily suggest going back and asking for more money. But what you're going to be able to do is offer similar value to what you would have at your live event. So like we talked about earlier in the webinar, offering different types of strategic approaches to what you might have offered. If you're going to offer them a program ad, make it a sponsored content, email content post, okay? So it really depends on what you were offering them, but we want to make that value either the same or more as what they would have gotten from your live events. So that is going to be a first priority when it comes to sponsorships moving into the virtual space. Now, your second question, the cost to deliver meals instead of table for 10 has to be huge. Now, the event that I was talking about where we're doing that, the food was actually donated because it is a food bank event. We have a sponsor that actually donates all the food for our chefs to cook. And so they actually have a huge kitchen and the chefs are able to prepare meals there. And our attendees then would just do a pickup. And so they would come and pick up their meals between, I don't know, 4 and 5 or whatever the time frame would be, and then take them home. And they can be like a take and bake situation. So for that, yes, the meals could cost a lot, but at the same time, when we run the costs on our venue, like food and beverage, versus having like a chef do something like this or to prepare meals for like take and bake, it's actually it's a lot cheaper. Depending on who you're working with, our venues are just really, really expensive when it comes to food and beverage. And so that is one idea. Another idea we've been toying around with is if you don't want to pick up the meals for a cost. So if the ticket to attend was $100 a person and we were going to maintain that, but with a take and bake style event, we're going to provide recipe cards. And so that would be free. So you can attend the event for free, and perhaps you grab the recipe card online and you decide to make the meal at home. You can still pick up similar bottles of wine and food, and you can still participate, you can still give, you can still watch, the wine pairings and things like that, if that was the choice. So that's another option to go. Okay. Eileen asks, when do you offer exclusivity for a sponsor's business when they pay top dollar? So if you're a presenting sponsor, that is where I give exclusivity. Usually the next tier, I might say something like, you'd be category specific. So for example, if your top tier was $25,000 and it went to X company, and then you have your next tier at $15,000, and one's a bank and one is, I don't know, a restaurant, I would say you would be the only category, you'd be the only restaurant in that category. So if I didn't have my other sponsor at $15,000 booked, then I would let them know I'm getting another sponsor for that level to have the same benefits, but it won't be another restaurant. So then I go down to the next tier and I do not offer exclusivity in those categories. Again, this is just what I do, but you can kind of decide based on your sponsor demographic how you want to break that up. But I do offer exclusivity for sponsors at the very top level. Is there one license for streaming music virtually? We are a classical performing group, but our virtual events will be across many genres. Yes, I haven't looked yet, but somebody had told me that there is on YouTube a virtual music library of like everything that is unlicensed. And so I think you can pull music from that. If you're talking about licensed music, there are some ways around it, but it does require some extra legwork where you actually have to contact like the record labels and people who own the music and say, hey, I'm going to be using this song for my event. Here's my link, here's my live link, like don't shut it down. And that's where you've seen maybe some like celebrity musicians streaming their music, is because they've gone ahead and opened up like okay, we know that we're performing here and so it works. So you'd have to go through and find unlicensed music. Like I said, there's something on YouTube about like a whole library of unlicensed music that you can take a look at. The other thing too is to make that live stream private. Anytime that it's like open-ended, like on Facebook Live or something, a licensed piece of music will get shut down. But if you're if you maybe have a smaller group and you're hosting it on Zoom or something, you can have a little bit more freedom there with the music. Oh no, Angie says you tried to sign up and the page doesn't work. Dang it. I'm going to check into that. Let's see, and are you using this link here? If you're still having trouble, let me know. If you're having trouble and you are interested in the fast action bonus, don't worry. If we're having tech problems, I will extend so we can all like make sure we're getting what we need. But yes, thanks Terry for coming. Dang it, why is my links not working? I am going to go have to figure this out and make sure that you guys can get access to the course. I'm so sorry that the tech isn't working. That makes me really sad. Let's see. I'm going to keep answering some questions here, but I'm also going to try to like minimize my screen so maybe I can go check out what is happening. So I'm so sorry, guys, but look, I do have some more questions here. We have several underwriters that have made commitments with multiple products that we can't deliver now, like registration sponsor. Or are we listing all sponsors on the registration email forms? What other ideas do you have? You can have a registration sponsor. If you're talking about maybe like registration like day of, you can still have a sponsor, like if you're collecting tickets on Eventbrite or you have your own website with where people go to register. I don't see why you couldn't not have a registration sponsor. But Terry, if you have something else that you're specifically talking about, just feel free to email me. Okay. Danica says, how do you decide if you should sell tickets versus offering anyone to attend? I think this really depends on your style of events and what you're trying to accomplish. Like I said, like we have a ticketed event coming up, but we're offering, you know, like that take and bake idea where people are picking up food like they would normally while they're attending event, get a meal. I'm really big into the free event right now as far as like getting more people to join and participate and donating that way. So it really just depends on like what your attendees are used to and like how like the virtual event is going to go if you're going to decide to do a ticketed or not. Okay, hopefully I didn't just disappear here, but I really want to go check out our links, make sure everything's working. Let's see if somebody has registered and it's working and maybe there's a trick that I'm not noticing. I would love to know how we can help other people register. Okay. Do you believe in sending thank you gifts to the sponsor? If so, how do you determine the value? It kind of depends. Like, you know, the whole high value sponsorship is about providing value to a sponsor that they're paying for. So to me, their gift is delivering on all of those things. You know, it just depends. Like a value, like you're asking, how do I determine the value of sending a sponsor gift? I do generally for my sponsors for my events, I create like a local package. I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's maybe like $30 a piece or something. And it's like local chocolates, popcorn, things from our local like area, because all of our sponsors are not local. And so I like to put together like a local package, like a local basket. We have some fun stickers that people can put on like their computers and things. And so like I just do like this fun like local basket with some candies, some food, some beer or wine or something if I know that they drink, and just kind of making it something like that. But I don't spend a lot. I really want to over deliver on the value that I give to their event, but I also want to show appreciation with a gift. Granted that the alignment comes first, is there a cost per person rule of thumb that you use to value your audience reach for package pricing? Yes, there are some different like I'd have to find some more information on this, but for the most part, when we structure our pricing, it is based off of our event budget. So my rule of thumb is I cover my event expenses with sponsors. And so what that means is that then that's how I break down what my packages are worth. I don't necessarily represent each item equals, you know, this many clicks equals $500 or anything like that. I break it down in the fact that like, here's what I need to meet my goals. And so then I go and sell a $5,000 package or $10,000 package. And that's how I determine the value. And you'll also learn that in the course of how to break that down. Okay. All right. Okay, you're saying it's not the link to your website, it's the link from the website to order. So yes, I'm hoping that you guys are going to the Podia link here, because that should take you directly to the course page so that you're able to do a quick checkout there. Angie, I'm hoping that you're able to use that link and if it's working for you. Okay, Angie says, how do you establish the value of what a level is? Oh, registration sponsor, dinners, event sponsor. This goes back to what your budget is and what you need. And so a lot of times I look at the value of like, figure out like, one, I start with the packages. Do I need to offer a 10,000, 5,000, 2,500, and 1,000 package? Is that what's going to cover my event expenses? So I determine what those are first, and then I go into what I have, like all the things that I have accessible to me at that moment in time, as far as like my reach, my email list, my social media, my traditional marketing, and then I start to like redistribute how much I can do in those different categories. I'm hoping that that makes enough sense as far as like basically breaking down all of the things that I have access to into, you know, my top sponsor is going to get the most, and then I divvy it down into the lesser packages. And so that determines how much I provide to them based on what I have to offer all of my sponsors. Let's see. Okay. We do certificate, photo, signed photo, mat, and make copies of marketing they appeared in as a sponsor gift. Yep. I put together a sponsor package as far as like, here's the reach we had, here's all the engagement we had on social media, here's how many clicks you got back. And so yes, we definitely do that as well. Okay, awesome. So Angie, you got to that right page. So make sure you're using the link that I'm throwing here in the chat if you're interested in purchasing the course today for $497. That's $200 off the real course, or off the real course, the price of the course. And this price ends on Monday at midnight. So you want to make sure if you are interested in this course that you are getting the best deal possible. And Katie, dang it, the enroll save takes you to a page that says, oops, that page doesn't exist. Dang it, what is happening? I thought all the tech was ready to go. You guys, I'm so sorry. Okay, good idea, David. Thanks. We have a workshop and typically send products. Yep. Do I use the same approach with individuals as compared with businesses? That is an interesting question. Yes and no. What I do, the same approach that I use is definitely in that kind of like get to know you meeting and figuring out like what people want. So if it's an individual, I'm going to ask them like, what, you know, how can you help them? How can you provide value to them with a sponsorship? Now, on the individual side of things, sometimes people just really do want to donate when it comes to this type of thing. They want to support in a different way. That's okay. I'm not going to turn down like an actual donation. So the individual is definitely different than a corporation where they're looking for marketing value or some sort of value in return for their dollars. An individual might be looking for something a little bit different or more philanthropic. So yes and no as far as like getting to know them and what they're looking for. The link is working for Danica. Try using a different web browser. Guys, and I'm going to, when we're done here, I'm definitely going to honor the fast action bonus so that you guys can partake in any of the workshops that you are interested in. I'm so sorry the links aren't working, but as soon as we get off here and I've answered everybody's questions, I'm going to go in and figure out how to fix that. And then I will resend an email and make sure that those links are working. Dang it, I'm so sorry about that. All the links. Oh, guys, I have to tell you, the digital space can be such a great place, but also it's a little bit intense sometimes when you have so many different components and moving pieces. So I appreciate your patience, and please make sure to sign up if you're interested in this course. It's helped so many people just get a good handle on their event sponsorship sales, and I've seen it just really, really, really impact that nonprofit, like the fundraising space. It's been such a huge asset for people. So don't give up on the course because of my links. And I hope you still participate. Oh, Angie, thank you. I'm looking forward to having you in the course. Okay, Katie says, if the individual gives at a high level, but they own a large corporation, is it appropriate to try to get them to also sponsor or offer sponsorship benefits? Yeah. Yes, if they own the large corporation, it kind of depends on why they're sponsoring individually versus from their corporation. There might be a different like tax reason. And so like that might just be like a personal thing for them of why they're sponsoring or donating. So again, it kind of goes back to that like get to know you conversation is like, why, like, how can I help you? Like, I have all these different marketing benefits. Do we want to throw your company's name on it? Or you're really getting to know like what their intentions are and what their goals are. And that way you can help serve them the best you can. But again, sometimes there might just be different reasons why they're giving versus like personally versus through the corporation. So just kind of need to do a little bit more research on that. Okay, Christian says this is actually a perfect opportunity to role model how to handle technical difficulties. Thanks. Yes, as we all experience that in virtual events, I have done a few virtual things online and things don't go the way that they're supposed to. And, you just got to own it, I guess, and hope that it works out and that, I'm sorry, but I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to make sure you guys all have the right links. Okay, Angie, thank you so much. Yes, and it is tax question. I'm not a tax person. So, guys, I'm going to go through the question and answer. I have been answering as many questions I can in the chat. And so I just want to go back to make sure I answer all the questions in the Q&A. Okay, how do you sell sponsorships when you don't know if your event will be person or virtual? Right now we're holding hope that September events will be held in person, but we don't know yet. Go to the sponsors right now and tell them what you're doing and that you'd love to have them on board regardless. It doesn't matter if it's live or virtual. It doesn't change their impact or the value that you can offer them. It just might look a little bit differently, but these are partners for you. These are people who want to support you and help you regardless if it's live or not. So just have those open conversations now and say, obviously, everybody's exploring all these different routes and conversations. So just keep those doors open. Okay. Making sure I'm getting all the questions here. Okay. Brooke says, I'm looking for ideas for sponsor benefits. When this event went virtual, we were at a loss for what benefits sponsors could have. No longer provide logo on the table, networking table, hosted drinks. You could have a drink sponsor. Why not? We have one of our events coming up. We are doing like a drink sponsor. And so we are basically putting together a recipe card with the sponsor's logo on it and information about the sponsor. And so people will be able to make kind of like that specialty event a cocktail, but just at home. So why not have that sponsored? You could even put together like some sort of mailer that you mail these like packets to people, and it has like recipe cards for the meal, recipe cards for a beverage. And then that's kind of a fun, tangible way of still having access to some of those things. Same with like logos on tables. It's not necessarily a high value item anyway. And so you can be putting those on screen with your virtual event. And networking tables, I've seen some people in the virtual space set at different times, like scheduling times to actually meet with sponsors. That might be an option to be able to do something like that. If you have a smaller event, I've actually found a really interesting website called sakoko.com, and you can actually have like hosted networking tables but virtually. And so you can kind of like talk to people and see who's in what room and who they're talking to and have one-on-one conversations or group conversations. And it's very interesting, like the capabilities of what you can do online. Okay. Also, as a consultant, how do you approach building relationships for nonprofit clients for their events? Should I prioritize building my relationship with a potential sponsor or theirs or both? Because I sell sponsorships for some people and not others, I do not sell sponsorships for nonprofits, and here's why. I think that nonprofits have their own reasons and why, like they have the biggest why. They have the biggest impact about like why they're so connected with their organization, and I'm not as passionate about the cause. And so that really goes a long way. And so I would rather teach my clients how to sell than for me to do it for them, because you're exactly right. Then where is that relationship like lie? Is that with the consultant or with the nonprofit? So I'm a huge advocate of teaching nonprofits how to sell so that they can maintain and build those relationships, versus doing it for them. I'm going to put that Sococo website in the chat. It's just something interesting. If it works for you, totally like take it on and tell me how it goes. I got to play with it the other day and it was really, it's kind of fun. Okay. Just making sure I'm answering all the questions. Okay. I think I got them all. If I missed your question and you are still on, do you would like me to answer your question? Go ahead and throw that in the chats, because oh yeah, Eric says we put together cocktail kits that are the ingredients for signature cocktail, and it can be pre-mixed in a sealed container mason jar, and they pick up. Mix with the alcohol at home, simple vodka. Yep, I love it. There's so many different fun ways of getting people involved at home. What I would really like to be seeing, hopefully in the near future, is having like small house like watch parties. So, you know, that table of 10 that you're like, well, how does that work? Well, maybe that table of 10 is gathering at that person's home. And so it's more of like a table of 10 house party. And the other thing that we've been seeing is like we can tap in Zoom. And so like we can have a Zoom party like at somebody's house, and then like in our studio we can actually like go in and out of different Zoom feeds. And so we can showcase like a sponsored house party, and so we can be like, hey, for like extra fee, we'll like feature you on our live event and like come into your home via Zoom, right? And so it's kind of a fun interactive way. And so everybody at the house party can be like, hi, like here we are having our drinks. And so it makes it really fun and interactive. Okay. Okay, if the event is mid-August, when would you suggest deciding to go virtual? You know, I have an event in September that yesterday we decided, I just said, just pick one. If you're going to go virtual, go virtual. Because they were like, well, you know, the requirements might be like 200 people for a live event, but we don't really know. And so I'm like, the most productive answer for me for right now for some of my clients is like, just go virtual. And now you have the time to focus and plan on going virtual instead of trying to like do a 50-50 split, or to have 200 people and then everybody on virtual, like everybody else on virtual. I think that the cost for something like that is going to get really, really expensive to have to do both. And so like, for me, it's like, let's just go virtual. Like it's cost effective. People are into it right now. And even if they could go to a live event, like in August or September, maybe they might not go. Like people might still be hesitant. We don't know how people are going to react. So, I'm all about just stick to the virtual right now, make it happen, make it work. You might actually find that you like it. So that's just my opinion. A virtual golf tournament. You know, that I get asked that question a lot. I have not done a virtual golf tournament. If you are somebody on this webinar that has, like, I would love for you guys to be able to connect and help out on the virtual golf tournament. Do you think that people are going to want to do virtual events after they have been isolated for so long? Our event is November 6th. Thoughts? I don't know. My gut says that people will be nervous to attend events even in November. I think people are going to be nervous to attend events through the rest of the year. So that's why I've been kind of consulting my clients for the rest of the year to just go virtual. What I do really like the idea of is those house parties. So we can still at least get some people together and do house party events. And so there's still like that togetherness, but we're not in large groups. So I really like that aspect. And like I said, if you're planning now, then you can really plan for a highly effective virtual event versus having to do that last minute transition again. If you chose to go have a live event and then you're like, okay, come October, we're still in the situation, or like for whatever reason we can't do it, then you're having to transition last minute. And that's where I would not like you to be. I would love for you to be able to just go full force, know what you're doing, have some sort of expectations about that, and just kind of have some peace of mind about it. Eric says at home, small group outside dining is even better. Yeah, depends on where you live in November. It'd be very cold in my backyard. I would like more information on how you did the virtual golf tournament as our event. I think maybe there's a conversation on a virtual golf tournament going on that I'm missing. Yes, if you guys are connected with virtual golf tournaments and maybe someone's done it, that would be great to connect with everybody in the chat. Okay, we are a private Catholic school with a lot of families that are business owners. A lot of our sponsors have come from our families. I would like to help and promote them as much of them. I've created a business directory for them, but I don't think it gives them enough visibility at this point. It wouldn't be to raise money, but to help them. Sure. Yeah, anytime, any way you can help sponsors, like maybe potential sponsors, that when it comes time to sponsor, they're going to remember that. And, it's just relationship building, which I think is great. Awesome. Yes, I will take the information on that golf tournament and I will send that out with you guys. Okay. Do you guys have any more questions? I will stay on to answer any of your questions, so please feel free to throw those in the chat. Just real quick, if you are still on and you guys want to buy the profitable nonprofit event that's going to help you with your sponsorship sales, because we're having a little bit of a technical issue, I'm going to make sure that if you're on the webinar and you purchase later to get the link so that the link works, just make sure you ping me and let me know if for some reason you don't see that. But yes, I'm happy to honor the workshop, fast action bonus workshops, so that you guys have access to all of that. So could you live stream a golf video game where players can communicate their virtual race car gaming that is similar? It's a good question. I don't know. You're stumping me on that one. I don't know. I'm sure there's something out there that allows you to have access to that kind of technology, but that's a really interesting idea. Oh, another question says, our event is normally from 6 to 11 p.m. How long should a virtual event be? It depends on your program, but I'm really liking the 45-minute to 60-minute programs for virtual. That also means that some people are having to cut down their auction items and rethink how the structure. I'm a very big fan of not doing a QVC style event where you have a bunch of auction items and basically you're just showcasing each item and getting people to bid on them. I don't like that. I don't want the virtual event to be all about the items. I want the virtual event to be all about the mission. And then we can talk about fundraising. So there's a lot of different ways to structure that. And if you get the course today, you're going to be eligible for that fast action bonus where I'm going to be going through the virtual event planning workshop. And I'm going to talk about all these things and you can actually create your own program through this workshop. Oh, gotcha. Danica, yes, it is. It's a very interesting idea about virtual race car gaming. I like it. What is a good way to keep track of your sponsorship info? CRM. If you have a CRM, yes. I actually just use an Excel spreadsheet, which is actually included in the course. And so all of my spreadsheets that I use to keep track of my sponsorship sales and tracking and any sort of information about that is all in the course, and you have access to that. It's in a Google Doc, so all you have to do is copy it over and you can use it. So it's kind of great. What are your thoughts on pre-recorded segments for the live event versus everything happening in real time? I love it. I am all about having a live event, but pre-recording as much as I can, especially from whether board members or mission moment pieces. I really like the idea that we can pre-record and actually control the emotion through those videos by pre-doing it rather than relying on people to deliver live. If you're in a virtual event space, it's very unique and different. And for a lot of people, it's very uncomfortable because you're not talking to anyone, you're just talking to a camera. And so it's a little different. So it can come off a little bit like rehearsed or fake or uncomfortable. And so when we can pre-record anything and help generate the emotion that we want to evoke from people through a pre-recording, I'm always on board for that. But I don't think that means we get rid of the live piece. It's just we're going to think about doing it a little bit different. Okay, Lee says our online silent auction closes the day before the event, so the event schedule runs about 30-40 minutes. Yeah, I've actually been encouraging people to keep their silent auction open about a week prior to their live virtual event, and then closing it at the virtual event. So we can bring a little bit more attention and recognition to that, and so that helps close things down. Like you might have like a fun little experience with closing your silent auction. Okay. There's quite a few of you still on this webinar, so if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. I'm going to stay on until you guys are out of questions. But I just want to say thank you so much for showing up and being here today. Like, this is awesome. There was a lot of you on here, and I know that sponsorships is a huge piece to our events, and I want to make that process easier for you guys, more successful, more sustainable, so that you guys can just continue to raise money and continue to creating more impact. And that is just my biggest goal. And that is what my job is to help you guys make this easier. I love all of the causes that you guys are a part of, and so it's just an honor to be able to help you guys raise more money. Okay, Katie says, how would you end the event? Would you end with a paddle raise, fund a need, and then a thank you? In the live space or in the virtual space, we want to ultimately get to fundraising as soon as possible. So it really depends on all the different components. I'm actually a big component of not having a live auction during your virtual event. It's really just more of a preferential thing, a timing thing, a production thing. If I'm spending too much time on live auction, then a power raise, it's too much time for me. I would rather see a really great silent auction in virtual and then do a paddle raise at the event, some sort of call to action. And that's my preference. But sometimes that's not realistic if you already have kind of like all of your live auction items already done or procured. Then I would, pick a handful of live auction items. The other thing I really like, and I've said this before, is I love options like Winspire, where you can get really great consignment travel packages and experiences where you're not having to do a lot of the procuring. It takes so much time to procure all these live auction items, and sometimes they just don't even turn out that great. And so I would, if you're gonna do it virtually, if you're gonna have a live auction virtually, it has to be like some mega awesome stuff that it's going to keep my attention. It's if you just have the random baskets of live auction items, then put them into your silent auction or don't do them at all, save them for something else. But my preference is to ideally do a virtual silent auction and then a paddle raise at the virtual event. The jump to virtual is very intimidating, but you have helped make it less scary. Well, I'm glad that I helped make it less scary, but it really doesn't have to be scary. I would encourage you to find partners in your area, just to help ease that transition. There's very knowledgeable people in the technology side of things who have the right equipment and who have the right capability and knowledge to execute this for you. And so don't be afraid, don't be intimidated. I know it is scary and it's different, but definitely be encouraged by the virtual space and that we have an alternative to turn to. Okay, Marcy says, we're an all-volunteer nonprofit. Our income has ceased and the board has practically gone silent. Would you have any suggestions regarding a board who's resistant to any fundraising right now? Get rid of them? I'm just not into boards who are resistant to fundraising. If you're resistant to fundraising, then you probably shouldn't be on the board. It might be a harsh statement, but we have to fundraise. Like, if we care about our missions and we care about our cause, we have to fundraise. What do you get the photo of gift baskets to look professional and really show them off? Or how? Gosh, I'm not a great photographer. So if you are a great photographer and you know how to do that, I'd love to connect you with Judy. I actually have some friends that have a course that help you with this. It's called Flat Lay, I think, where it's just all about like angles and lighting. And you can find them at Voice and Visual. If you're interested, this would help help you perhaps come up with a great way to photograph your items so that they look nice? Not my expertise, I'm sorry. What is the best platform that you would suggest using for a virtual silent auction? Hands down, I love One Cause and Greater Giving. They have the most robust virtual platforms right now. They've been doing this for years and years and years already, and so they're just up and ready to use. So I definitely like those. All right. Wow, you guys, thank you so much. I'm like so honored that you showed up and you're staying here. Oh, got another question. Beth, we raise funds for women explorers and scientists who are who are doing awesome, crazy, pioneering things, and people love to meet them personally. How can we translate that personal intro and meeting into a virtual event? Having a virtual experience. I mean, if you have some amazing women out there, I mean, I know a lot of auctions, it's like, have like lunch with so-and-so or something. You can still do that virtually, have those virtual experiences. I also like on the virtual event platform, being able to interview people. And sorry, I've been talking a lot. My voice is getting dry. But I really love the like Facebook Live platform because people can get in and interact and ask questions like live. And it's kind of nice when they might not have ever been able to talk to these people, even at a live setting. You know, if they were a speaker at a live event, you know, they show up, they come on stage, they deliver their message, and then sometimes they stay backstage, and or they have a crowd of people around them and you don't get to talk to them. And so in the virtual space, it's kind of nice because, you know, I can have a conversation with you guys here in the chat, and that's just a really nice thing to be able to do with just people that are interesting that you might not, as an attendee, get an opportunity to have a conversation with them. So that's a really cool experience. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and start to wind down so I can go fix my tech problem so that you guys can buy the course, because I'm so excited to have you guys in the course and to continue to work with you and answer your questions. And I am super excited for our fast action bonus workshops. One is the virtual event planning workshop, and the other is going to be a digital marketing workshop. So those are two really great high value pieces that we're going to put together groups of people to work through that in small groups. And so I want to make sure you guys all have that opportunity to join those workshops and keep doing more good work and more fundraising. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to send out the replay as soon as I can, as soon as this recording gets downloaded. And if you have any questions or you're still having trouble accessing the course, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email is danielle@daniellesnelson.com. And you can just send me an email there and I can help troubleshoot anything that you're having issues with. And again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time.